whooping. All of you, get back in the closet. Go fuck yourself.
How much does it cost for fascism? How much do the taxpayers have to pay for a fascist country?
They're evil. They are actively doing evil. So treat them like the evil that they are.
The right to exist argument has been used now to the point where what it's going to mean is that the Israel you're talking about will include the annexed and illegally occupied West Bank. It's very interesting, the Israeli government has never said where it thinks the borders of Israel really ought to be and what it would settle for. And it would be an immense help if it tells us where it thinks Israel's boundaries should be. Every other country does do that.
It's time to stop pretending otherwise. It's time to be ruthless and time to afford them the same amount of grace that they give to their Palestinian victims, because they are only going to get more and more ruthless with their victims if you don't.
What's up? Mic check 1 2. Check 1 check 2. How's the internet right now? Are we stable? Joel.exe is just chatting. Okay. We'll start with headlines, then go into more specific stories.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. A manhunt is underway for the shooter who killed the conservative activist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University on Wednesday. Kirk founded the conservative youth organization Turning Point USA when he was just 18 years old and played a crucial role in President Trump's 2024 victory. Kirk was speaking outside, taking questions from the crowd, when he was killed by a single shot fired from a nearby rooftop on campus. Utah Governor Spencer Cox said, quote, "I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination," unquote. Here's Scott Robbins, who witnessed the shooting.
Absolute horrible event. You know, Charlie Kirk, he goes up there. He even has security to protect him from other extremists that have attacked him before, from just debating them civilly.
They don't have the video up on YouTube yet, so I can't fast forward through the Charlie Kirk shit, so we're just gonna watch it at regular speed.
And so people didn't expect that kind of thing to happen.
President Trump blamed the, quote, radical left for Kirk's death.
That's the biggest tragedy, is Trump turning this into a political bargaining chip, turning this into his Reichstag moment. I mean, people seem to think that it was either Mossad or Deep State. I'm thinking Mossad.
A suspect has been identified and even tied the shooting to his own assassination attempt.
Back on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise.
Steve Scalise? When was that? In 2017. I thought that was the congressional baseball shooting. There are more recent... There's been 8 in the last 5 months. I can't even remember them all off the top of my head. But notice he's not mentioning any of the violent right-wingers. Like, most notably, Vance fucking Bolter, dude. Melissa Hortman and Mark Hortman. No mention of them because they're Democrats. I'm not even a Democrat, but like, this is blatant hypocrisy. Anyone with half a functioning brain cell can recognize that he's turning this into a partisan issue.
And 3 others. Radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives.
I hate this fucker so much. He's got my own dad using the phrase radical left. It's fucking repulsive. I hope my dad sees the end of his life coming back to reality regarding Trump, but I don't know. We all have someone in our lives who's been taken by the cult, you know?
Lives.
President Trump neglected to mention attacks on Democrats. Including the former Democratic Speaker of the Minnesota House, Melissa Hortman, and her husband, who were assassinated in June. Kirk was shot in the midst of talking about mass shootings. He was asked by an audience member about the number of transgender mass shooters in the country compared to the overall number of mass shooters when a bullet hit him in the neck. In the past, Charlie Kirk repeatedly praised the Second Amendment and downplayed the seriousness of gun violence. Here's what he said back in April of 2023.
You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. Wow. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost.
Democracy Now! Is not trying to say that he deserved it. They're showing us why compassion is not necessary.
Of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
Charlie Kirk doesn't want us to be mad about this, okay? You heard it here first.
Kirk's murder comes after the former FBI special agent in charge of Salt Lake City, Mehtab Syed, was forced out last month after just 6 months on the job. We'll have more on this story later in the broadcast. In Colorado, a student opened fire at a high school, injuring 2 of his classmates. The gunman died of self-inflicted injuries. Authorities are currently investigating a motive for the attack. On social media, Colorado Governor Jared Polis posted, quote, "We are all praying for the victims and the entire community," he said. Israeli airstrikes hit Yemen Wednesday, killing 35 people and injuring 131.
What in the fuck? God. Were they just... It sounds like a bunch of people gathered together. Oh my god, is this the... Okay, I saw that funerals were being held in Qatar, but okay. It's not the funerals being bombed. Is it?
The strikes on the capital Sana'a and the northern province of Al-Jawf.
I think this was against the Houthis.
Come a day after Israel's strike on Qatar targeting senior Hamas leadership. Yemen's health ministry said Israel attacked civilian and residential areas in Sana'a, as well as a government compound in Al-Jawf province. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the strikes were in response to a Houthi drone attack that struck an airport in southern Israel earlier this week.
Oh, a drone attack? So you blast away 35 people and injure over 100 more?
Qatar's Prime Minister, Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani, said when...
There's no equity to these responses. nothing is measured. Israel is just full, fangs out bloodlust. That professor that's been putting his lectures online about how Israel is trying to bring about the end times by starting a war with the world. And it's working.
Wednesday, the Israeli strike on Qatar killed any hope for the hostages in Gaza. Speaking with CNN, he also called the deadly strike that killed 6 people Tuesday an act.
Did he just say Netanyahu signed the death warrants of the hostages?
Wednesday, the Israeli strike on Qatar killed any hope for the hostages in Gaza. Speaking with CNN, he also called the deadly strike that killed 6 people Tuesday an act of state terror and said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu needs to be brought to justice. The Wall Street Journal's reporting President Trump had a tense phone call with Prime Minister Netanyahu about his attack on Qatar. Trump reportedly told Netanyahu the decision to target Hamas leaders in Qatar wasn't wise, that he was angry he learned about the attack from the U.S. military instead of Israel. Meanwhile, Israeli military reservists and family members of hostages protested and marched towards Israel's military headquarters in Tel Aviv Wednesday. This is Vicky Cohn, the mother of Nimrod Cohn, an Israeli hostage held in Gaza.
It's not only a march, it's also a protest that was organized by IDF soldiers that are against the war, and they say, like we, the families of the hostages, that our Prime Minister needs to stop the war and sign a deal that will bring all of the hostages back home.
Israeli forces have killed 22 Palestinians in Gaza since dawn, including 16 in Gaza City. 5 Palestinians were killed seeking food. Meanwhile, Al Jazeera is reporting Israel arrested 7 fishermen off the coast of Gaza City, holding them in an unknown location. Israel also bombed 3 homes in the densely populated Shati refugee camp in Gaza. This comes as Israel continues to bomb Gaza City, ordering the evacuation of nearly 1 million people. On Wednesday, Palestinians searched through rubble and debris at the site of a Gaza City residential tower building that was hit by an Israeli strike. Here's Magid Sukar, who was sheltering in a tent near the tower.
4 tons of explosives hit the tower. Our belongings flew in the air. Our tents are gone. Our money is gone. Our conditions have gotten worse. There's no shelter for us. What does Trump want? What does Netanyahu want?
Members of the global Samud flotilla are vowing to continue their efforts to break Israel's siege on Gaza after 2 of the group's ships came under fire, apparently from drone attacks while docked in Tunisia. After initial downplaying the attacks, Tunisia's Interior Ministry said Wednesday they were premeditated acts but did not name a suspect. Activists have directly implicated Israel, with a spokesperson saying there is no other authority that would do such an attack, unquote. On Wednesday, thousands of Tunisians rallied at a beach near Tunis to support the group's efforts to bring humanitarian aid to Gaza.
We cannot commit ourselves to Palestine without committing ourselves to all the other oppressed. But it begins with Palestine, because Palestine crystallizes all the complicities of our governments, And that is why we, the people, must take the place of our governments, because they do not do it. And we, people who have never sailed, commit ourselves on boats and are going to achieve the impossible.
There are dozens of countries represented by the participants in the Samud flotilla. Later in the broadcast, we'll go to Tunisia for an update. Israeli President Isaac Herzog says he argued with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer during a tough meeting at 10 Downing Street, London, Wednesday. Speaking at the Chatham House think tank after the talks, Herzog said Israel's war in Gaza is aimed at, quote, defending Western values.
We are defending Europe. We are defending Western values and the free world. with the blood and the tears of our sons and daughters and families. That's what we're doing.
As Israeli President Herzog spoke, protesters gathered outside Chatham House holding signs reading, "Stop the slaughter, don't listen to war criminals." Meanwhile, the front page headline of the Scottish newspaper, The National, read, "Starmer rolls out red carpet for genocide," unquote. According to Middle East Eye, the Crown Prosecution Service's Counterterrorism Division appointed a prosecutor to urgently review an application for an arrest warrant for President Herzog. Palestinian rights groups cited his remarks in October 2023, stating all Palestinians in Gaza were unequivocally responsible for the October 7th Hamas attacks. Despite the investigation, UK authorities made no attempt to arrest Herzog. Poland has invoked Article 4 of the North Atlantic Treaty, calling for consultations with fellow NATO members, including the United States, after at least 19 Russian drones flew deep into Polish territory overnight Tuesday. The incursion prompted Polish and NATO forces to scramble fighter jets as authorities closed major airports. On Wednesday, Polish Prime Minister Tusk told Parliament, quote, "This situation brings us the closest we've been to open conflict since World War II," unquote. In Kyiv, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky slammed Western leaders for what he called a lack on action against Russia, calling the drone incursion another provocation by Moscow.
From the first hour of the night, our military recorded Russian drones moving towards the Polish border. And this movement was not an accident or a mistake, but deliberate movement. The Russians used both our territory and Belarusian territory to push them into Polish airspace.
This weekend, Belarus is set to play host to major joint military drills of Russian and Belarusian forces. They're the first such war games since early 2022, right before Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The Trump administration is considering military strikes on Venezuela if President Nicolas Maduro doesn't step up pressure on drug cartels, according to independent investigative reporter Ken Klippenstein, citing military sources who said the Pentagon's drafting plans to attack Venezuela's military aircraft or to bomb its airfields. This comes just days after Venezuelan F-16 fighter jets buzzed U.S. Navy ships gathering north of Venezuela. Meanwhile, The Intercept is reporting the 11 people on board the boat in the Caribbean that was destroyed by the U.S. military last week were said to have survived an initial strike and were killed shortly after in follow-up attacks. The boat reportedly turned back toward shore after people on board apparently spotted a military aircraft stalking it. Republican Senator Rand Paul revealed the attack was carried out by a drone. Paul criticized the strike as a breach of long-accepted rules of engagement. The Trump administration's claimed without evidence it targeted Venezuelan drug traffickers. Legal experts call the extrajudicial killings acts of murder and a war crime. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has fired the...
I have no words, dude. America and Israel are just bullying, intimidating, and just destroying the planet. Destroying people, generations of people.
UK ambassador...
This is why the Samud flotilla is so important.
...to the United States, Peter Mandelson, over his ties to the disgraced, now dead sexual predator Jeffrey Epstein. A senior Foreign Office official told members of Parliament Mandelson had failed to disclose the extent and depth of his friendship with Epstein when Starmer appointed him ambassador. This comes after the tabloid newspaper The Sun published a trove of emails revealing Mandelson urged Epstein to fight for early release from prison after his 2008 conviction for procuring a child for prostitution, writing, quote, "Your friends stay with you and love you," he said. In Washington, D.C., Republican House Oversight Chair James Comer has rejected calls to hear testimony from a forensic handwriting expert about Donald Trump's signature on a birthday letter in...
A forensic hand... Isn't that junk science? Like, you can't even use that shit in court.
Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday book. The note features a nude sketch of a woman and concludes with the words, "May every day be another wonderful secret," unquote. On Wednesday, Comer told reporters the letter has, quote, "absolutely nothing to do with the overall investigation," unquote. This comes a day after the White House said it would support a forensic analysis of the signature amidst Trump's repeated denials that he'd signed it. Meanwhile, Senate Republicans blocked a bid by Democratic Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to compel the Justice Department to release the Epstein files. 3 former senior FBI officials who were fired last month are suing FBI Director Kash Patel and the Trump administration, alleging they were let go as part of a campaign of retribution for refusing to demonstrate loyalty to President Trump. Brian Driscoll, the former acting FBI director, Stephen Jensen, who ran the Washington field office, and Spencer Evans, who led the Las Vegas field office, are all alleging Patel chose to follow orders from the White House rather than federal law. According to the lawsuit, Driscoll and other top officials tried to stop attempts to fire and punish FBI officials for working on criminal probes.
You think Kash Patel was going to be the guy to stand up to the Trump administration? The dude is honeypotted by Israel. He is bought and paid for, owned completely.
Of Trump. In Texas, immigrant rights groups and supporters are demanding the release of an El Paso DACA recipient after a federal judge terminated her deportation proceedings. Catalina Xochitl Santiago is a longtime community organizer who was seized by Border Patrol agents at the El Paso airport in early August as she was about to board a domestic flight for work. Santiago remains in an ICE jail even after immigration judge Michael Pletters ruled on Monday that her DACA status remains valid and that she cannot be deported or moved until federal judges can review her case. Meanwhile, more than 300 South Korean workers who were rounded up by ICE at a Hyundai plant in Georgia last week are expected to be deported to depart for South Korea today. At a news conference Wednesday, South Korea's president said the incident makes South Korean companies more hesitant to invest in the United States. And in New York City, mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani is calling on
Another day, another step towards global isolation for the United States.
FIFA to abandon dynamic pricing for the 2026 Men's World Cup as part of his Game Over Greed petition. Here's Mamdani yesterday.
It hurts because we know that while New York City is proud to be one of the hosts of the World Cup final next year, so many of our neighbors will not afford to be able to be there. They will not afford to be able to be there because FIFA is quadrupling the max ticket price that it will charge in order to be in attendance. They will not afford to be able to be there because FIFA is now deciding to use dynamic pricing for the first time in its history.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. Coming up, a manhunt underway in Utah after the prominent far-right activist Charlie Kirk.
All right, that's enough of that. Mamdani's right to speak to what people care about, which is sports, so pretty good political move. Just wanted to see if the Electronic Intifada had any Starmer empties Holocaust studies of meaning as UK aids Gaza Holocaust. Apply the lessons of history and face prospect of jail. It's a hell of a picture. The sun's back there. Paris, France. Several hundred students and protesters clash with police as part of the Black Quantu movement. At least 20 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks across Gaza since dawn, according to Al Jazeera. That's where my compassion is at. The daily death tolls that get rolled out from Gaza. We haven't forgotten. We will not abandon Gaza. The Samud flotilla is on its way to break the siege. It's likely to be there this weekend. I have to keep telling myself that. They bring hope. They bring aid. But they also bring a global example of how you should behave towards your fellow man when they're in peril, when their children are in peril. 5 more deaths, including 1 child, were recorded over the past 24 hours due to starvation and malnutrition, bringing the total since the start of the war to 404, including 141 children. Transport costs are exorbitant, roads barely usable. Most families have already been uprooted multiple times, left exhausted, penniless, and hungry while tents trickle in under Israeli restrictions. Satellite monitoring also warns that some 1,500 people camping along Gaza's shoreline face serious danger from tides and storm surges. God, and if you do survive, you're enduring just this indignity and torture. Since October 7th, Israel has killed 31 female Palestinian journalists, most of them in strikes on their homes alongside their families, according to the Freedoms Committee of the Palestinian Journalists Syndicate. The victims span reporters, anchors, photographers, and media coordinators. The committee says these killings amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity. Israel strike in Doha. After an Israeli strike targeting the offices of Hamas in Qatar that killed several office members of the group and a Qatari corporal and injured several others, Trump expressed regret over the incident, calling Qatar a strong ally and friend of the U.S. Only because of the plane that you got? He also directed Secretary of State Marco Rubio to finalize a defense cooperation agreement with the country. Okay, that's still not lifting a finger to touch that phone, to make that phone call to Netanyahu. But you'll do everything else under the sun. Fucking subservient dog Donald Trump is. Netanyahu said Israel acted wholly and independently. Yeah, we believe that. I wouldn't put it past Israel that they are not looking for any cues from the United States. After a shooting and occupied East Jerusalem attack killed 6 Israelis and wounded at least a dozen others on Monday, Israeli forces responded with sweeping restrictions across Jerusalem, Ramallah, and surrounding areas, adding checkpoints that trapped hundreds of thousands of Palestinians for hours, including one enclave of 40,000 people that was completely sealed off. What the fuck? Israel forces have arrested the mayor of Al-Qubayba, a town in the Jerusalem Governorate in the occupied West Bank, according to the Wafa news agency. Nafaz Hamouda was detained during a raid on his home. The latest batch of Epstein files to be released by the Democrats in the House Oversight Committee includes a suggested birthday note. Oh my god. And a photo of a giant novelty check with DJ Trump on the signature line, apparently buying a woman from Epstein. What the fuck? This is about as dry as it gets, folks. Just raw text. And news broken down by region. Ooh. Ooh, baby. I love me some dry ass news, dude. Oh, and if we just start talking about political theory, woof. Oh, whatever. The Nepali soldiers patrolled the streets of Kathmandu on Wednesday following violent protests that forced Prime Minister KP Sharma Ali to resign and set parliament and other government buildings ablaze, the worst unrest in Nepal in 2 decades. The demonstrations, sparked by a government ban on social media and anger over corruption, left at least 19 people dead and spread nationwide, with protesters targeting politicians' residences and public infrastructure. Damn! If you can't have it, no one can have it. If you can't have structure, no one can have structure. Fuck yeah, dude. A leftist revolution, dude. Let's go to YouTube. Let's step into the temple. Oh shit. 8 minutes ago. I beat you to the headlines. Sorry. Charlie Kirk, don't give a fuck about that. Sky News Australia is talking about Charlie Kirk. God damn. No, not the BBC. I want to find the... I think we might have already talked about it on the show or seen footage of it, but they're literally in the Prime Minister's house, like ripping pictures off the walls and shit. Look at that. Look at them running. Look at them running away. All these... Woo! Trashed his whole place. Whoa, starting a bonfire. Yeah. Ooh. I should unmute this. Oh yeah, you're heartbroken about the deaths of citizens? I bet you're so scared. Look at this chump. Your camera's not focused, chump. Ooh, protesters in Nepal have called for an interim government to be led by youth representatives. Hey, I like it. Look at that. No cars in the roads, but people in the streets. Not a car on the road, but people in the streets. It's beautiful. I feel like I'm looking at a precious gem or something, but it's so much more than that. I'm looking into an oculus of hope. I have a whole watch later. Let's see. This was crazy. This is ICE. Here's where we'll talk about ICE movements today. Get a load of this shit. They're trying to take someone in broad daylight on this crowded ass street.
God. They're literally taking someone. They're trying to. Oh my God.
They're all tussling.
I'm serious. Seriously f***ed up.
Like the feds are overpowered here until more of them.
More people coming. Oh
yeah.
Wow. No, they're lit.
Yep.
No, this just. I don't know what the is going on. What?
Someone's sitting in front of the car now. That guy trying to grab that person's wrist. Just yanked that girl.
There are people getting in front of the cars. Oh my God, they're running over the people in the cars. I do. Yeah, and the problem is they're trying to do it downtown on a crowded street.
He means that they're trying to abduct somebody on a crowded street.
Oh.
This is what happens.
Oh, wow. No, someone's going to get hurt. There are at least 20 people in front of the car. Someone's going to get run over. Wow, someone's hanging off the car. Oh my God.
Oh my God, he's under the... Fuck.
Oh God.
Still on the car.
Oh my God. Holy fucking shit. No, man. This is just... And the cops are there. I think the cops are the ones doing it. Oh my God. I'll send it to you. Holy fucking shit. Frightening times, right? What the f?
If you see someone you know getting kidnapped, don't let them get kidnapped. I don't care what they're wearing. Unless they have a badge and they say you're under arrest and start telling you your rights, reading your Miranda to you, otherwise you're getting kidnapped, and all bets are off, dude. We're jumping on the car. We're yanking people off of other people. We're not gonna stand for this violence. Alright, I gotta call it. I will be on later. Peace.